Tuesday to you. This is Pastor ElTyna McCree, and we are so humbled and honored that we have been given another opportunity and a privilege to be on Facebook Live. And so I welcome you today in the name of the Lord. Let's say our prayer. Father, in Jesus' name, we enter into your gates with thanksgiving. We enter into your courts with praise. We bless you and we praise you that you have brought us through from our very earliest existence up until now. We thank you for this day that you have made. Holy Spirit, we welcome you into this place now for this next 45 minutes. Let someone receive something that they will go away from here with hope and with love in their heart and knowing that they can face tomorrow. It is in the name of Jesus I pray. Amen. So greetings to you guys today. As I told you last week, I was hoping and praying that we would be able to have our guest on today, and our guest is on. I actually don't have any announcements or anything to make. I just want to go right into our dialogue. Now, as you know, for the last 3 weeks, we have been talking about the fact that October was the month of healing, was the month of helps, and the month of harvest. And then I got so into the helps. The first week we talked about helping one another. And then we got into this healing thing, and we've been in there ever since. We said that we're going to put harvest on the back burner and use that in November. So we've talked about healing and how we cannot be healed individually and collectively until we take a look at ourselves, until we look at the man and woman in the mirror, and until we look at the things that are scars, the things that are limps in our lives, and the things that we have buried because we are ashamed of people seeing them. And so we pack them in a bag, and then we have this baggage that we're carrying around. And so we are talking about how we want to go back and revisit our lives, revisit the things that we've come through, the things that are painful for us, so that we empty that baggage, and then we're able to proceed in life at lightning speed. And so today, our guest is none other than veteran actor Richard Gant, Sir Richard Gant. Richard and I have been friends, I want to say, for nearly 40 years. And the thing is, the day that I met him, at the time, he was living in New York, and he was visiting a mutual friend of ours in Oakland. And that day that I met him, it was like we had been together somewhere else, let's say in another life. And of course, being Pentecostal, they don't allow me to talk about other lives, but it seemed like we had been together somewhere else because we just came together. If Richard remembers, he actually took me out to dinner that night at an Indian restaurant in San Francisco. And we've been going ever since. I have been doing his travel forever. I helped him bury his mother. He helped me bury my mother. And I don't believe we have ever even had any crosswords in all those years. So I don't want to take up time. I want to introduce you to my bestie, my best male friend on the planet, actor Richard Gant. Richard, just greet us.
Hey, how you doing? How you doing? And ElTyna, yes. First off, yes, you did bury my mother. I helped you bury your mother. You instrumental in marrying my daughter. Remember?
Yes.
You worked her wedding. So I mean, you just the absolute part of our family, and one of the few people that I know prays for me. So I mean, that's everything. Everything. No, I don't remember the Indian restaurant, but I do remember your mother's memorial service where
I knew you had to tell it.
I have to tell it. People, what happened was I'm out of the AME church. we sing hymns and anthems. Well, so ElTynas Mother's memorial service was in a holiness church, not Pentecostal. Oh, to be very clear, holiness. And I am to speak after this particular bishop from Atlanta, a good friend of ElTynas. And I'm there in the pews, anxiously waiting for my time. And I'm gearing myself up to be able to go up and speak for my friend. Well, the pastor, he got up there and he did his thing, and he was rousing. And as the song wound down, because he was preaching as music was playing, I got ready. The music stopped. I rushed to the pulpit, and the music started back up again. And there I was with my hand up, mouth open, and the pastor was back at it again. And it was simply a moment that I'll never forget. The pastor from San Francisco had to get up at that point and introduce me. And she said, well, brothers and sisters, Brother Gant just got caught in a praise.
Bishop Yvette Flunder.
Yes. So I'm never going to forget that time, that moment.
And the thing is, when you talk about I married your daughter, when we did that wedding, well, I saw her and she had the two boys by then, and I saw them in Safeway one day. Oh. And so she said to them, oh, this is Grandpa's best friend, and this is Reverend McCree. And so she said, and she did my wedding. And so they, looked at me and said, nice to meet you or whatever. Well, I want to say maybe 2 years later, I see them in the grocery store again. And one brother tells the other, that's the lady that's the cause of us. She's the cause of us. She's the cause of us being here. And that amazed me, how children can take something and make it their own the way they understand it. But now, Richard, I just want to have you as a male person that's been all over the world, spend so much time in Africa, and all of the things that you do. Talk a little bit about what your work has been in Africa and with the AIDS situation.
Well, it kind of has to start back back in college, how I was introduced to theater in the first place. I had gotten out of the Air Force, 21, 22 years old. At that point, I had read one Black book in my life. This was in the 60s, and the African-American literature wasn't part of the curriculum anywhere in the state of California. I was introduced to Black literature, and at the time I was in a dance company. We were doing Latin dances, the lady that was the instructor for our class stood up in a student rally. Now you have to understand, this is Merritt College, the seatbed of the Black Revolution. This is the place where the Black Panther Party at that moment was forming, at that very moment. So she announced there was going to be a revolutionary drama group forming, and I went off to be a part of it. And this is at the same time as this literature is being put on me, put on my shoulders. I was already in love with Langston Hughes, as it turns out, and Any Notion of Harlem. So out of that formed this drama company, and I joined, and within 3 weeks, I was directing my first play.
All right.
I had just taken to it. It was just everything. And what I was most interested in, of course, was literature that had to do with African Americans. Later on, when I transferred out to Cal State Hayward, it started to include Nigerian theater, the Black people's theater that was in and of the diaspora. that notion of Blackness in theater stayed with me to this very day. When I got a chance to go to Nigeria some 10 years later, 12 years later, it was everything. I was directing a campaign for the governor of the Benue state and the NPN party for that state. It was fantastic. It was so fantastic that I would have paid them for the opportunity. Every time we'd go to a different village and we would set up for the campaign, I would hurry up and get everything set up so I could go over there and be with the drummers, because every village there was a festival in and around the governor coming or politicians coming. Out of all of that, I developed a way of handling myself in not just Africa, but just handling myself in general. I was there for a year running that campaign, and anytime I ran into Americans, I would kind of avoid them because everybody makes mistakes, cultural mistakes, social mistakes. And I simply didn't want to be around when other Black men were making these mistakes. So I would exit. Anytime folks would get to saying, "you people," those kinds of mistakes. Those kinds of mistakes that live with us, and to our horror, revisits us later on, and we realize what we looked like when we were saying and doing those kinds of things. That was my introduction to Nigeria. Funny story, later on, I had been around the Pan-African Film Festival here in Los Angeles. It's a huge film festival that happens once a year, and they end up premiering over 100 films each year. And as part of their presentations one year, or for 2 years running, they were offering these DNA tests. And so the several of the celebrities would be getting tested and would then come back and know where they came from in Africa, blah-de-da-de-da. I saw Jim Brown become very nervous when it was his turn to learn where he was from, because all this time he had been saying that he was from this particular tribe in Nigeria, but this particular area, this tribe. And now at the moment of truth, he wasn't sure. And he got nervous and started saying, "well, I don't care where I'm from. Blair Underwood took the test, and several other people. I wanted desperately to know where I was from, but by the same token, if I wasn't from Nigeria, I'd have a problem, because that's where I was first introduced to Africa. That was my first love, and that's where I wanted to be from. So I hadn't taken the test. Years later, I still hadn't taken the test. In Brazil, at an AIDS conference, I ran into this woman from Cameroon who was living in Paris. And she was one of those people that was running a program in the Cameroon where if you found out you were from Cameroon and a particular tribe, then they would do a whole ceremony and take you there and blah-de-da and give you this, that, and the other. She asked me had I taken the DNA test. And I reluctantly told her no, I hadn't, and told her why. Because I was afraid to find out that I might not be from Nigeria.
Oh my goodness.
She said, "well, I understand that, brother, but if you don't honor that woman that got off that boat, who will?" So that was a come to Jesus moment. She had a point, and it just doused any notion that I had about where I was from, any romantic notion about where I was from, because there was a bigger imperative. There was a greater question that needed to be dealt with, a bigger issue. I have since got the test, and I got the wrong testing service. I went to 23andMe. Why did I go to 23andMe? Because 23andMe offers, through your DNA, some health kinds of questions answered you know, for everybody that's of this particular DNA, then this will be the issue, blah, 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 blah. Well, these people told me that I was 52% white. So
that was the wrong one.
Completely wrong. I mean, there's no way. How can my mother and my mother or my father and my grandfather or mother have to be white?
Exactly.
So no. So they are wrong, and that's what I get. I should have went on with that African ancestry and been done with it. But the notion, I guess, that's germane to this point is there's always a bigger thing, a bigger question, and sometimes we don't know what that is or don't know that there is one, and so we languish in something else when over here is where we need to be. It's a lesson that I've learned in life. Back to Africa and AIDS. When I was in New York for 16 years. I was in New York when I ran across ElTyna in Oakland, which is where I'm from. While in New York, I had this good friend named Duma Nglovu. He's a South African fellow who was one of those people who was persona non grata in South Africa at this time. This was in the 80s. He and I got together and we did a whole bunch of things involving South African and Black American actors. He was one of the principals behind Serafina, for instance, if everybody remembers that play and movie. So we did all these shows. One of the shows ended up going to Broadway called Sheila's Day. So in 1990, I moved back to California, to Los Angeles. A film brought me here, a film called Rocky V. So I'm in Los Angeles now, and he's back in South Africa because apartheid is over. So we kept trying to figure out what we could do together. What kind of earth-shaking things could we possibly do? Since we're a little older now, we don't have that young actor, director, fire and fever that we had then that was making things happen. In 2010, we hit on the notion of reenactment of Mandela's walk out of prison. This is the 20th anniversary. South Africa the government had forgotten about it. The ANC had just blanked it. So we were given permission to go ahead and do some kind of reenactment. We got all kinds of things prepared and talked to a number of people here in the United States that would go with us. And about a week out, the ANC woke up, said, listen, we're taking over.
I remember that, yeah.
We're taking over. We're not going to allow you guys to just do this. We're going to do some of the things that you wanted to do. You're going to go to Parliament, all this, that, and other. But we're taking over and we're bringing 10,000 people. Well, at that point, you have to say, our job is done. Coming back from that momentous occasion, on a plane, we landed in Dakar, Senegal, on the way back to New York. And an African brother got on the plane with his African regalia on. He was magnificent. And he wanted to know who we were. Basically, what he wanted to know was, who are you Black folks here in first class? What are you doing? And we told him, and I was really the only one that was paying attention to him, ElTyna. He looked at me and said, after that kind of work that you did in South Africa, you ought to be at the 50th anniversary of Senegal's independence. Do you want to come? Now, at that point, ElTyna, when somebody offers you something like that, you look him in his left eye just to make sure it's some kind of truth. And of course, and so I went to Senegal maybe a month and a half later. The president of Senegal sent a plane for us, his personal plane. The 100 people that went with us, the entire board of the NAACP was on there. people from CORE, all these other kinds of folks. David Garvey was on the plane. Now, I was told this, and I'm saying that David Garvey. Who's this? That's Marvin's. That's Garvey's son. No, that's impossible. That's impossible. We asked some other people, and they confirmed it. And so now you got to take a breath. That's Marcus. I'm on the plane with Marcus Garvey's son.
Wow.
You know, Marcus Garvey. Out of that whole experience was formed this group called the African Renaissance and Diaspora Network. So it's made up of people from NACP, any number of organizations and private individuals. And we're charged with advocating for and building towards an African Renaissance. And that organization is connected to the United Nations. It is a NGO of the United Nations, and we were charged with AIDS advocacy. So for a good 5 or 6 years, I'm traveling all over the place advocating for AIDS awareness. And that's my African story. It was a fantastic time. Again, I would have paid these people money to be involved. There's no money at the UN. Please don't think that they're going to pay you.
Right.
But the experience is fantastic. Yes, you can be on the frontier of some country at 2 o'clock in the morning, waiting for somebody to bring you a passport. Yes, that's very possible. But it's fantastic. It's been a fantastic time.
Now, what about the story you told me about when you were in Cleveland, I believe, and you found out that one of your ancestors had played a major role in early missions, I believe, in Liberia?
Yep. This is another life story. Not necessarily about them, but about things you're supposed to do. This aunt told me about my great uncle, William Gant, who went to Liberia with his wife to preach and teach somewhere around 1870.
Wow. When
she told me that, and from that moment on, I asked anybody I ever ran into from Liberia if they ever heard of Gant's, G-A-N-T, Gant, to no avail. Sometime later, I happened to be somewhere in Ohio, it wasn't Cleveland, at an AIDS, it wasn't a conference, but I don't know, event. And I was at the celebrity table, and sitting there with me was this little fat preacher, little wonderful fellow. And he got up and spoke. And he started talking about the Lot Carey ministry, ElTyna. Evidently, Lot Carey was a fellow who bought himself out of slavery at around 1800 or 1790 something, and began to preach on the east coast of United States in Maryland. Some kind of way, he ended up on a boat to Liberia. Come to find out, the United States Navy was repatriating Blacks to Liberia and perhaps even to Sierra Leone, down the coast a little bit. At that time, I never heard of that. Anyway, he was there, got to Liberia, preached, did preaching and teaching there, organizing, building this, that, and the other, and ended up dying there in some kind of conflagration that happened. But his ministry lasted, and to this day, I think they're in 17 countries. I had never heard of this place. When the guy sat down, the Reverend sat down, I said, Pastor, this must be where my uncle went to Liberia through your organization. Do you have information on all that? Records? He said, we have nothing but records. He called me back 2 weeks later and said, I found your relatives. I found your relatives in the United States of America. They have come back. Remember, there was a civil war in Liberia around 19, the early 80s. And these people had come to the United States. Here they are. And your people are from Montserrat. Not Montserrat, I'm sorry, Brewerville. And there's a street named after your uncle. The life story is, I didn't keep up with that aunt. That aunt has passed away. And I was not able to tell her that I had story. That's the story. Since then, I just did an episode of the new series, Wonder Years. Okay, I'm the grandfather on Wonder Years, if they call me back. The mother, I can't think of her name now. It's a Liberian name. The mother in the show, father is from Liberia. She has met some historians from Liberia, and I told her my story, and they got back to her with information. See how things work? The information is that, no, he didn't go in 1870, he went in 1880. And they had all kind of records about names and this, that, and the other, this, that, and the other. So I'm blessed in that way, simply by being a romantic. I'm in love with people. I want to hear what people got to say about things. I want information about this, that, or the other. I'm in love with anything Black.
All right.
And so as a result, things just come to you. If you open, things can come.
Exactly.
Nobody was paying attention to this brother in first class on, I guess it was South African Airways, with all his African regalia on, but me. And look what happened. I ended up going, and nobody else, ElTyna.
Wow.
You know? So where's the stories there? I don't know, other than just stay open, stay wide. The reason I got that job in Nigeria, again, I was the campaign manager for the NPN party in Benue State through the governor of that state. The reason I got that job, I'm sure, was because I was a romantic.
Okay.
I'm a romantic. I ain't into stealing money. I ain't into trying to get this, that, and the other. I want to watch. I want to be a part of. So they gave me a job.
Wow.
And, now it was rough. There's no two ways about it. It was rough. But being a romantic just saves you. I can remember coming down to Lagos. I would go to Lagos every chance I could get on the weekends, perhaps, just to get away from Benue, which is Benue State is not a small state as much as the city was small. And so I'm 38 years old. Of course, I'm going to Lagos. So I'm there at the Holiday Inn Hotel, which was a big hotel there. And this American comes up to me and says, Mr. Gant, I've been watching you, some time now. I'm here doing Coca-Cola stuff, la-di-da-di-da-di-da. He said, and you seem rather settled. But let me ask you, if something happens, do you have a way out of here? I said, I'm good. I'm with the governor. I've been on the tarmac with the president. The NSO, which is the secret something organization, does something for the military, for the country, has seen me and ultimately vetted me simply because other folks said that's just that American. So I'm good. He looked at me and said, "You sure enough?" Okay. It just so happened, ElTyna, that when the coup happened and everybody that I knew went to prison, I was in San Francisco. I was in Oakland.
Right.
I was in Oakland. Again, child, fools, and romantics a lot of times are just saved because they're open and honest.
And I'm sure it was your mother's prayers.
And my mother's prayers. And believe me,
Now tell me about when you were in the bad bus accident, when you were traveling with Alvin Ailey.
Yeah, when being a romantic didn't help me. I was a company manager for the Alvin Ailey second company. The second company does the big cities that the first company no longer does. And they don't go overseas. They go to the Caribbean. They don't go overseas. So that's the second company. It's a well-respected company. Many of those dancers go on to the first company. So we're on tour, and we had just played Rider College. I had been told that there was going to be a problem, a huge problem. I was told this by a mystic, okay? I thought that we had gotten past the problem with our previous tour that had gone to Boston. So we're coming back from Rider College late at night on a chartered bus, chartered Greyhound bus, and everybody is asleep on the bus but the driver. And when you're on a bus like that, there's only 20-some people in our company. So you lay on your two seats and put your feet across the aisle onto the armrest of the seat across from you. You've got the picture. So at 2 or 3 in the morning, a truck coming the opposite direction on the New Jersey Turnpike runs head on into the bus. 3 people are killed. I wake up out in the middle of a field. Traumatic time. The emotion came out of that, yeah, because one of the people that died was a dancer from Haiti that had come up front to talk to me. So that was traumatic. But the goodness of people is what I kind of left that whole situation with. Another bus came, picked up the survivors, the 18 or so or 16 or so dancers who didn't get carted off to the hospital, and took them back to New York. Now, when they got to, I forgot the name of the station. I've been gone from New York so long, I forgot the name of the station. The bus station downtown. When they got to that station, the taxi drivers and everybody had heard about the accident, about the people killed and about the dancers and blah, 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 blah. All of a sudden, here they are. These dancers were ragged. One of them had only one shoe on, clothes half torn off, some blood everywhere and all this and other. Taxi drivers, and they weren't all black, these taxi drivers, snatched these children up and took them straight home.
The goodness of people.
Yeah.
But the goodness of New York. Because I mean, New York, they are known for all of the things that they've done way back then, and then everything that happened after 9/11 and that continues to happen. The goodness of New York. It's just my favorite place other than San Francisco, I tell you.
Wow. Yeah. So that was my time with Alvin Ailey. I loved dance. I can remember some big dance off they had at the new arts building in upstate New York. It's a huge, beautiful, one of the wonders of New York State. And there was 3 or 4 companies that was in this dance thing. And I can remember standing in the wings and watching ABT, American Ballet Theater, and realized at that moment, you have to understand that all my life had been playing ball of some sort. Theater was changed all of that. I can remember standing in the wings, looking at those dancers and realizing, oh, dancers are athletes. Oh, wow. Now that's strange because I had been involved, but I just had never looked at it like that. I can remember being a company manager for this, for Joe, Can't think of his last name. His dance company, and as the stage manager, you call the show, you call the lighting cues, you call the curtains, you call the music cues, and you're walking in the wings behind the curtains, but behind the curtains, so you're looking out, and the dancers would come leaping on, and they land right there at your feet, and it's time for them to go up again, and you got to pick them up, push that hair back. All right, darling, go, go. I love that. I loved it. I could say that I love that as much as acting. It was just everything.
Wow.
These moments.
Well, I tell you, Richard, the blessing, as I stated, I put a little blurb on my Facebook page saying that I was going to be humbled and honored to have you on the show today, and just talked about how long we've been friends. But if you can remember, in the times in which we live, what is so welcoming and engaging is that in 1988, when I first did Let's Talk, which was a television show at that time, on Soul Beat, and you came from New York to be on my show, and you were on like more than once. You were on several different times, and to think about that was 1988, and now we're in 2021. We are both alive and well. We are both still blessed to be in our careers. My career, 55 years doing airlines and travel. Your storied career in dance, in the theater, on the films, and then all of the work that you have done with Africa. It is just a blessing that you and I can still sit here after all these years and have this reunion. But now I want to have you back on here to talk about, and this is deep. This is, and that's a word I got from you, because I would be telling you something and you would say, "Oh, ElTyna, that's deep." But this is deep now. I want you to, when you come back on, to talk about what it is that you feel is happening, that rap artists, that actors, that reality show participants are. What is this epidemic now that is causing all of these people to OD on these drugs, to OD, and also commit suicide? Is there something underlying here that we're missing that's causing this to happen? And you, as a elder actor and having been involved so much, maybe you can put together something for us and come back and talk to us, because you know that I am very much concerned about all of this, and certainly concerned about the suicide situation.
Well, interestingly enough, we're in workshop now in a musical starring Keith David, about Joe Williams, about the jazz singer Joe Williams. Every day, I got the blues. That's all. And in looking at his life story, that situation comes up, that whole notion about performers, about drugs, but it makes you wonder if it's the drugs or if it's something else. I'm trying to make the point to the writer that Joe Williams, yes, he was up against drugs. He avoided it, but he knew that he had to avoid it. But he was into alcohol. He was into marijuana. He was into women. I'm trying to make the case that the issue for him and perhaps for a bunch of other folks is that you were put here on the face of this earth for something. You were given a gift. If you were at that level, you were given a gift. Now, can you reconcile in your mind what to do with that? The rewards that you reap from that, I guess that's the point. Is it the sensations or is it something else? And how do you know? How do you find that out? Can you handle it if you know it? If you are anointed, do you fight it because you don't believe in being anointed? You don't believe you deserve it? What? If Joe Williams was put here on the face of this earth to be a troubadour, to be a Pied Piper, with people following after him because of his gift, because of his ability, how does he handle that? Can he recognize that? And good Lord ain't giving you things because they're easy. No, you got to fight and you got to work hard. I believe that. So how do you handle that? And I don't think a whole bunch of people can.
All right. So we're going to cut it off there. You have your assignment. That right there opens up a whole nother can in terms of what you just said. Can you handle it? And that right there could be the crux of what we want to talk about, because can people really handle what they're given?
Right.
So Richard, I love you. I got to pray my closing prayer, but in a couple of weeks, because I don't want this to be, I want to stay in with what I'm talking about and with trying to save the world. As you know, I'm always trying.
I thought we had some more time here now.
No, we're at our time. We're at our time. But you're going to come back on in a couple of weeks. You have your assignment. And we're going to further this because, again, we need to know, is that the issue here? That people become overwhelmed when they see, because, again, we got to remember that people see us differently than we see ourselves. And so it could very well be that when individuals really get a glimpse of themselves and what's going to be the down the road, that's what they can't deal with. So I'm happy with you just bringing that point up. And thank you again so much for being on with me today. You know I love you madly. And if you will just stay with me while I do the closing prayer. Absolutely. Yes, groupings, peeps. This was different today. I wanted it to be different. I wanted you to give you a little something different all the time. Meat and potatoes and vegetables. Sometimes we have to have a dessert. And this has certainly been my favorite dessert, which is Grand Marnier souffle. So this has been our dessert today. So Father, in Jesus' name now, we thank you for this day. And we thank you for how you have protected, sustained, and preserved this, my beloved friend, over the years. So many things could have happened, but you have sustained him and preserved him and protected him and made provision for him, and how you still give him favor in that he is still yet working. People are still calling him and wanting to hear his voice, feel his presence, and see his face. And so, Father, I pray that you would bless him and his family and all that the people that are surrounding him in any kind of way. Now, Father, I pray that you would bless us. We don't know what this week will entail, but we know that because you live, Jesus Christ, you live, you resurrected from the grave, and you are not in the grave, but because you live, we can face every tomorrow. And we know that tomorrow is another day. And as I ask you guys all the time, give tomorrow a chance, because it will be better than today. So now, this is Pastor ElTyna McCree saying to you, God bless you. I love you. Until next Tuesday, or whenever you are able to view this, you can view it on Facebook Watch, Facebook Live. You can go to my YouTube page and watch this and any of my prior presentations. Next month, I will be celebrating 1 year being on Facebook Live. So there's a lot for you to see and hear. Again, peace be within your walls and prosperity within your gates. I love you in the name of the Lord. God bless.